Welcome to Your Life Podcast, the place where life becomes that little bit simpler. Welcome to the Your Life Podcast. I'm Angela Lockwood, and in this episode, I am turning the tables. I'll be interviewing one of my longtime friends and colleagues, Jac Edser of Edser Health. Now, Jac is calm to her very core. She absolutely practices what she preaches. Even so, I have asked her to help me at moments in my health journey, just to help me refocus and to connect my thoughts with what's going on physically. Now, Jac is an occupational therapist just like me, but she's also a lifestyle medicine practitioner. So she taps into ancient wisdom and melts it into our modern medicine. And by doing that, she has a really unique way of looking at our health and also treating health and disease. If you feel like you're not performing at your best physically and mentally, then this interview with Jac is worth a listen. I would love to introduce you to Jac Edser of Edser Health. Enjoy. So welcome to the Your Life Podcast. We've known each other for a little while, and I think your message and the way that you live is something that really needs to be shared far and wide. But I think there's a couple of terms that we need to just clear up right here at the beginning for our listeners. Now, you are an occupational therapist and you are a certified lifestyle medicine practitioner. Just to clear the air right at the beginning, of course, I know what an occupational therapist is because I am one, but I'd love to hear it from you. What is an occupational therapist?
Well, I guess occupational therapists primarily focus on a person's function and how they engage in everyday occupations and looking at what are the barriers to them living and fulfilling meaningful occupations. So whether that be physical, mental, emotional barriers through injury or disability, or through disease, and looking at ways to increase their independence and increase their overall well-being. And lifestyle medicine is very much in line with looking at people's lifestyle being the cause of illness or chronic disease. And I think the lifestyle medicine movement was born out of looking at a way that we can address the increasing rates of chronic disease across the globe, and looking at ways that we can start to utilize lifestyle changes as the prescription rather than looking to only prescribe medicines or pharmaceuticals or even supplements, for example. So I think they're they're a match made in heaven because they're both looking at what people do, how they do it, and what constitutes a really meaningful life for that person.
And have you seen, you've been an occupational therapist for over 20 years. Do you think we're going back to sort of age-old ways like we're looking at lifestyle medicine now? Do you think are you seeing big changes over the last 20 years of how we relate to health?
I think it's changing. I think, there's a change in the acceptability of looking at particularly the mind-body connection. And I guess I have a little bit of a skewed view because I only mix in circles that that's already a very common belief, and so I'm surrounded by it all the time. Just because of the way of my life and my work, I don't get to see a lot of the very mainstream sort of medicine ways still practiced. So I think they are still out there. However, I think the language and the conversations are starting to become a little bit more focused on what the person can do, not what just the doctor can do. On the flip side, there is a little bit more fear because we know more. We can Google more. We can educate ourselves more. So people are bombarded with a lot of information that can elevate that fear. So there's sort of two things happening side by side, I think.
So how do you find with such overwhelm of information, right? I know with my children, with my own health, as soon as something happens, we jump straight on Dr. Google, and we all know it's not good for us to even do that. So how does somebody like you who has got this experience as an OT, but also as a lifestyle medicine practitioner, how do you bring all the information together so people aren't overwhelmed with what is the best step to take for their own well-being?
Yeah, I think part of it is giving people their power back and allowing them to understand that they are in control. And that comes with education. And I say it all the time to my patients and clients is that it's not rocket science. Yes, the human body is extremely intricate, and the mechanisms are all extremely intricate, and it's amazing what our cells can do and our brains can do. Um, However, it usually comes back to very simple concepts when someone's looking for an answer to a specific problem. And more often than not, they know the answer. It's just
Mm.
being able to confirm that for them.
So, do you find that there are some really basic things that people can do when they're feeling like life is a little bit out of kilter or their health starting to slide? Are there certain themes that you see of people sort of falling back to when they're not feeling well?
Yeah, look, I think one of the most profound things that I ever learnt for myself was to be aware of your thoughts. And it sounds again very simple, but if you're going around all day thinking a certain thought that is unhelpful, that is, negative towards yourself and negative towards other people, and you continually tell yourself this is changes the way that you perceive everything. It changes the way you act. It changes the way you interact with people. So I often say to people, and I did this myself for a long, long time and still do it. You wake up in the morning and you think, what thoughts do I want to have today? And what thoughts don't I want to have today? And if it helps, write them down. And then every time you hear yourself say, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, or well, that's just my life. I have to work really hard for everything, or typical me, I always get sick. Every time you hear yourself say that in your mind, you can catch yourself and then you can change it. So you start to change those programs that run day after day after day, and you'll start to notice that you can see things a little bit differently. Oh, I am fascinated by the mind-body connection, and the more I learn, um, the more I realize I don't know. And I guess the in the medical world and in the health world, the biggest thing that started to raise questions for me was when I learnt many many years ago about the placebo effect, um, and then learnt about the nocebo effect. So something that for example, you might have there's been cases of patients diagnosed with cancer that you're terminally ill, and they get told that they only got 3 months to live, and they die in 3 months, and then on autopsy it reveals that they didn't even have any cancer. So
Mm.
it's that kind of thing of um, how we can use our mind to influence our body in a positive way, but also recognizing that we don't want to influence it in a negative way. And
So
I
did
say maximize that placebo effect.
yeah, so was it placebo and nocebo? Is that what the word
Yes,
was?
yes,
So
yes,
what's the difference?
nocebo. Well, placebo is when you believe something is going to be good for you, and therefore it is good for you. So traditionally, it's used in pharmaceutical manufacturing, where a group is given a sugar pill and a group is given the real medicine, but no one knows what they're being given. But they've been told that it's a U-butte medication. It's going to cure, um, you know, their cure their runny nose or whatever. It's high blood pressure, and so because they believe it, it changes the signaling into the body, and therefore, you know, it changes the outcomes. So it's that positive influence into the body to get a positive outcome, even though it's actually not a real medicine. And then the opposite is when you're having the negative. The nocebo is when you're telling yourself you're, at the extreme. You've got a terminal illness and you're going to die in 3 months, and therefore you die in 3 months.
Aren't we complex beings? Humans really, really fascinate me that the power of our mind can actually change almost our physiology. It can change our health.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fascinating. And as I say, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. But the small part that I am understanding is that we really do have an amazing ability to an amazing power if we can harness it.
Yeah. So I know one of your really strong passion areas is helping health professionals focus on their own health and well-being. And I have to admit, for those people that are listening, I have been a recipient of Jac services, and health professionals. We're traditionally people who love to give advice. We love to help other people focus on their own health and well-being, but often at the detriment of our own health and well-being. So, Jac, why is it so hard for health professionals to put themselves first and to focus on their own health and well-being?
Yeah, well, I think the two things that I've noticed consistent throughout health practitioners is that it's a bit of a paradox with our health issues. It's often the thing that has driven us to become a health professional in the first place is our own personal health challenges and a history of health challenges. And therefore, when we come into the profession, we're already a complex, mixed bag of health challenges. And because of this, it then means that our challenges are more complex than the everyday person. They're multi-layered, they're multifaceted, and if there is a long history, they become very complex to solve. So, so we, the very nature of of what drives us to the profession to start with is probably one of the things that then drives us to continue to help people, but also is what means we often are presented with our own health challenges. And you've never found a more caring and nurturing profession across all of the doctors and allied health professionals and natural medicine professionals that because of that very caring nature, it means that well, it's okay if I put the other person first. It's okay if I work long hours and make sure that I'm getting the best outcomes for my patients, not realizing that sometimes that's actually not the best thing for ourselves, and that can often lead to that feeling of burnout, um, or fatigue, and it's very hard to admit as a health professional that you're not on your game. It's kind of like the plumber with the leaky tap. You think, shouldn't all their issues be sorted out and in perfect working order? Shouldn't we have perfect health and be on to everything if we're the ones dishing out the health advice? So we often find it embarrassing to admit, and therefore hide it, or maybe not put it as a priority for ourselves.
I know there's been many times throughout my career so far where I've found myself in that situation too, where things are going along really well in lots of aspects of my life, but then your health starts to slide as, maybe another area picks up. And yeah, I can really resonate with that as a health professional, that sometimes putting your hand up and asking for health can be, for help, sorry, can even be a little bit embarrassing. So, for any listeners who are in that space right now, what would you recommend, Jac, for health professionals, what could be the first step that they could take to start to get back on track?
I guess the first thing is looking at what is something simple that you can just do today, that will change how you go about your day. And that might be as simple as, I'm going to actually put some time in my diary to have lunch, and I'm going to sit down and eat my lunch, and I'm not going to be doing patient reports or researching or ducking out to um, the bank or the whatever during lunch. I'm going to actually sit down and I'm going to nourish my body with some food. Or it might be that um, you simply say, okay, I'm going to book an appointment to have that neck treated, um, or have a massage, or do something active to change that pain or that musculoskeletal tension. And I think the more that you can just bring it back to, okay, what's just one simple thing that I can do today, the easier it becomes and the less overwhelming it becomes. And the other thing I would say is that just 100% remember that you're not alone, that you're not unique. You are unique in very many ways, but you're not unique in that you have health challenges as a health professional. And so
Mm.
therefore it is okay to say, I'm not doing so well, I need help.
So just choose one simple thing that you can do and realize that you're not alone. But I know for a lot of health professionals, and not just people who would be listening to this who are busy people, they've got a lot on their plate. There's a lot of things that they're trying to juggle and prioritize. How can they find that one simple thing? What is it that, a lot of people go, but I've got 20 different things I need to do. Is there like an area where people should focus on? Is it their thoughts that you talked about earlier, to focus on their thoughts? How can we make this so simple for people? Or does it need to be a little bit, you need to be guided to do this, Jac? The one simple thing for people, if you don't know what that is, where can people start?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to say that it doesn't take time and it doesn't take effort. And when you've got a long to-do list, sometimes the last thing you feel like you should do is prioritize your own health. However, I believe that um, health is not about kind of getting to a destination and then going, oh, everything's going to be okay. It's actually a daily choice, and it's daily choice in absolutely everything you do. So even if you still do all the same things, the way you go about doing it, the thoughts you have, the attitude you take towards it, the intricate choices in everything you do has an impact and adds up to or detracts from your health. So you may still get through your whole list of things, but you're going in with a calm breath. So you're learning to take some deep abdominal breaths, and you're doing that as you're driving. You're doing that as you're talking to patients. You're doing that as you're on the phone, and by doing that, you can activate that parasympathetic nervous system, so that calm, rest and digest, rejuvenate part of your autonomic nervous system to kick in and lower your stress hormones and start to allow some regenerative aspects to take place in your body. So it's not about adding something else to do. It's actually still just changing your physiology and your mental capacity while you're
Mm.
still doing all of those other things.
So integrate it into the day. Is that your message,
A-
that don't add it to the list,
Absolutely.
but just integrate it? Yeah. Of course, we all know about mentoring for your business, to get sort of business coaches, but what is health mentoring, and what does it look like? Like, what could people expect to have a health mentor?
Yeah, well, I guess I just speak from my own personal experience, and when I'm mentoring people, it's all about allowing them to see um, at a different level of thinking. We've got the famous Albert Einstein that problems can't be solved on the same level of thinking as they were created. So, to
Can you
have
say
some
that again,
just
Jack?
to
Can you say that was a good one? Can you say that again?
problems can't be solved on the same level of thinking as they were created.
Oh,
So,
that's such a writing down one. People need to write that one down.
because the neurons that fire together, they wire together. So if they, you to actually think something differently, you need to break those neural connections and then rewire. And to be able to have someone sit down and just logically look at all aspects of your life and your lifestyle, just problem solve, and then get a small action list together. And it allows you to just see things differently. And I believe that that's the key to then being able to make progress. And because sometimes as a health practitioner, you want to figure it all out because you think you should, and also you believe you have the right understanding of things. But it's like anything. You and I can look at a piece of artwork and see something totally different. So by having a mentor to be able to look at things objectively for you, it can often just create that space to see things in a different light. And then I also like to then teach people, educate people on the tools and strategies that they can implement into their everyday life, as we talked about, that are simple and that just create the um, right set of circumstances, the right recipe for you as a unique individual.
And I guess that's a lot of the struggles that we have, isn't it, when we read online and we register in these sort of global programs to help us with our health, is that they are just global strategies rather than being strategies that are focused on where you are at right here, right now. So I can really see the benefit of an individual health mentor or a health coach that can help you steer on the way. Now, I know one thing with you, Jac, is that you can even hear it in your voice. I know that you practice what you preach. You are calm in every single way. And I would love for you to share around I understand you live off the grid, and
Mm-hmm.
people have this romantic view of what living off the grid would be, like totally unplugging, going and living in the mountains somewhere and just having no stress, being able to switch off whenever you choose. Is it possible? How do you do it, Jac? And what are some of the challenges that you have faced, and can we all do it?
Well, I think I preface this with saying it's we live off the grid in a socially acceptable way. We still shower and maintain a sense of personal hygiene. Um, we still have Wi-Fi, and we have the modern conveniences. But living it has taught us to live simply, and we're on total solar power. So when we had a month of rain recently, it became interesting. What's the priority of the day? Is the priority of the day to have some lights, or is the priority of the day to keep the fridge running, or
Mm.
to iron a shirt to go to work? Like it just makes you value things differently, I think. And I you know it comes home to me when I've been away in a busy city, or uh, on a holiday or whatever, and then you come home and you're able to relax in your own personal space, and enjoy nature. Um, it 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 allows your nervous system to just settle a little bit more, I think. um, and it definitely has its challenges. But at the same time, when we've had times when um, there's been power outages because of other things, and we've still had full power because we're relying on the sun rather than man-made electricity. And yeah, it's a good life. I can't complain.
And Jack, what was it that made you choose to live like this? So you mentioned before that living healthy, focusing on our own well-being really is a daily choice. So this is obviously a big choice that you made, a big decision that you made with your family to live like this. What took you to decide that, and what took you to make the changes?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. I think it was one of those things that the universe just kind of pushed us into, and then it was like, oh wow, we're actually living in quite a congruent way to what we believe. It wasn't, we bought a block of land that no one had ever lived on, so there was no facilities or services, and I guess we just, part of it was what was more economical, and what's available. And I'd love to say that I I I was completely and utterly considering the environment when I made those choices, but to be honest, it wasn't really that. Um, it it was one of those things that where life just pushes you in that direction, and then afterwards you go, wow, actually that's pretty cool. That's a really
Mm,
cool thing that we've done. So I've always um, uh, I guess more in the past, I have been on that kind of quest to find, where's health, and get there. And I guess since being, living a more simple uh, existence, it has allowed me to realize that it's not anywhere I'm going to get. It's about what every single moment that you live, and how you live every single moment.
Jack, thank you so much. It sounds so really looking at health not being a destination where you get to, and I know we hear this so many times in cliche in shows around it's the journey, but really by the sounds of focusing on our health and well-being, particularly for health professionals and health practitioners who are doing this for other people, it's those small, really simple daily choices that you're making every day that add up, and that realization that you don't have to do it on your own. There are people there that can support you and can help you make some of those decisions that you may not be seeing yourself. And a big theme, Jack, that you've also talked about is the importance of education, of knowing what to do and what's right for you. So where can people find out more of the right type of information rather than Googling it? Where can people go either to connect with you or, to find out a little bit more around how they can start to turn a spotlight on themselves and focus on their own health?
Definitely, I find LinkedIn is a great place to connect, and I'm finding more and more that I don't use social media apart from LinkedIn, and for one of those reasons is that I think you get a little bit more quality of information, rather than just what's the newest and shiniest and brightest trend. And um, and the other thing I would say is that, as practitioners, it's often hard to find who you would confide in, and and it's often about going outside of your own circle, because when we tend to want to, you know, seek advice or help from the people we know because we feel like we trust them, and they're familiar to us. But often it is a matter of going outside of that circle, and having a little bit of distance between what's work and what's your own personal health journey.
And of course, people could go to your website, jacedser.com. That's EDSER, so jacedser.com. And I just want to thank you so much, Jack, because I know you have helped me on my health journey, and that's why I wanted to share your knowledge with people. And I think what we're doing now, we're seeing this really hyper aroused and very anxious society who are really looking for simple answers. And I thank you so much for being one of the people that's providing a little bit of clarity amongst all of what we're seeing a little bit of chaos. So thank you so much for being on here with me and having this chat. I hope you enjoyed this episode. To find more ways to slow down and simplify your life, follow the Your Life podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And let's connect on LinkedIn and Instagram. Just look for Angela Lockwood. Don't forget, it's your life. You choose how to live it.